Hey, it's Damon, the Global Gardener, the multi-part series on the Snug Harbor Botanic Gardens on Staten Island in New York. Here we are at the herb garden. Let's check out the herb garden. It's quite lovely with these pathways that are not just like gravelly stone, but actual stone. Large sidewalk size stone. Just walking by everything amazing here is a Crepe Myrtle. Has several kind of pollinators on it. It's more of a dwarf sort of multi-stem Crepe Myrtle. There are also trees, not real big trees, but I guess they can maybe get 30 feet at the most, like super mature. Here's a whole iris bed, iris garden. The map is not so detailed on the different gardens here, but wow. Here, butterfly bush, Buddleia. This is a beautiful specimen. It actually has several, and I don't want to disturb them, monarchs. Let's see how close we can get before we're disturbing it. We got monarchs on both of these, Buddleia butterfly bush. It's been a rough year for monarchs. Their populations are way down. They migrate typically from Canada to Mexico. Seems a little late in the year for them to be here. They're grouping in other places, so we got some visitors. But here's another thing that the map didn't talk about is this peony garden. It's like all kinds of varieties of peonies. Many peonies, and this is a light pole, but it's got a trumpet vine on it. And here, much more peonies. This is like a whole peony garden of all kinds of different peonies that is not on the map. These monarchs are just flitting around the butterfly bush. So definitely put in butterfly bush, and milkweed is their main, where they plant their babies and have their cycles continue. There's my shadow, and the Nepota Catmint. Great ground cover, very hardy, just keeps flowering, needs very little maintenance. It's sort of anti-insect, like bad insects, but it attracts good insects. It's pretty great. There's, we saw before, anemone. That's a white one. We saw pink ones in the other video. Looking at this little fountain. It's also not operating, or at least with a pump. I haven't seen a fountain here working yet. Here's a leguminous tree, sort of a thin canopy. It's sort of a upper canopy. You can plant lots of things under it because it's just filtered shade, but it's a legume. I can tell by the leaves. I don't know if it's a locust or I don't know exactly because the leaves are falling off. It's September. Look at all these peonies. But permaculture, there's so many peonies, and they didn't even label this that this is a peony garden. I bet this in the spring this is spectacular. In the early summer, leguminous trees. You want to have a lot of these in your garden. Legumes at all layers. Permaculture talks about 7 different layers from really kind of roots. They don't really talk about the mycelial layer of decomposers and mushrooms, but that's also a layer that should be factored in. But the roots are where they're called legumes. I'm looking at this one, Macchia, Amur Macchia, is a leguminous tree, and legume means that they have nitrogen-fixing nitrobacter on their nitrogen-fixing bacteria, nitrobacter, on their roots that brings nitrogen from the air and makes nodules on the roots that are then in the soil. So it's feeding nitrogen in the soil to not only itself but everything around it. So having everything from clovers, there's like sub-clovers that are really kind of flat, and then clovers that are a little bit bigger, and then there's sub-shrubs and shrubs, and then all the way up to trees, and then canopy trees. And so this Amur Macchia, because you're in love with its Amur, trying to get it in the frame there. It's Leguminosae family. This one's from Asia, Eastern Asia, and it's in the pea family. So peas, beans, legumes. Maybe you've heard them called legumes, but now you know what legume means if you didn't know before. And so it's fixing nitrogen in the soil. It's fixing the soil, putting basically nitrogen fertilizer in there. So some plants don't like too much nitrogen fertilizer, but most plants are good with it, and having that will help kind of all around. There's a wild, it's called Scotch Broom, that is in California. I heard about it being invasive, and I've seen it a lot of other places now, even out here in New York. Scotch Broom. It's a kind of rampant growing legume, so it displaces native plants that aren't used to getting that much nitrogen by fixing nitrogen, and it makes its own kind of environment and space. Looking at this magnolia. We're going to go in, here's a Rose of Sharon. We're going to go in the white garden next. There's more anemone. And here's a couple of signs finally, plant signs. It's a Deutzia and a bush cinquefoil. Potentia? It's not. Okay. It's in the Rosaceae family, so I don't know why it's maybe not there anymore. Time to update the signs. I didn't look when the herb garden was put in, but it's probably one of the older gardens. Here we have the greenhouse back there. Here's another light pole covered with the trumpet vine. And here we go into, oh, what's this? White Garden dedications from 1996. Staten Island Botanic Garden. And here's another a bank that helps sponsor the White Garden. So the White Garden, here's white anemone. Wow, here's some akebia. Is that what's flowering? No, I don't think that's akebia doesn't flower quite like that, so it must be a Clematis or Clematis. It's also wound in there. Yeah, here it is. No real scent. Akebia is also called chocolate vine. Let's go look at it. It's kind of an amazing vine because it'll grow in pretty much shade. You can tell by these neat leaves, these sort of palmate leaves. It's hard to show in the video. Here's some more. Leaves, and then the white garden. So I don't know if there's white magnolia, but white clematis. More white flowering shrub. I don't recall the name of, and there's no placard. Hostas, of course. Some roses popping through. The Rose of Sharon that was on the other side. And this deal here. Whoa. Okay, there's that. There's a black cohosh in here, according to the sign. And it's a little, could use a little more care. But maybe the bank will help take care of that. Seeding area. These vines are growing up on everything. White garden. Here's a white snake root. That one. And more anemone. So they get, those ones at their peak are about as tall as me. I'm 5'10". Here's some that are still growing. So you can get a sense of how tall they get. They're not quite as tall as me. If I put it up there, they can look like they're taller. They're, you know. between 5 and 6 feet. What else we got in here? Magnolia, probably flowers white. Wow, a very well-established hydrangea, climbing hydrangea vine. They actually do get small white flowers. They don't really need any encouragement, but if you feed them with flowering food, they'll have some flowers for you. And there you have it, the herb garden and the white garden. Let me look at the year again on this. The dedication was in 1996. So yeah, probably time for some updating. Some towers have fallen since 96. It came down in 2001 and here we are 2021. So that's all for this section of, oh, there's a white. We looked at the butterflies and pollinators on the Crepe Myrtle, the pink one, and in the white garden they have a white one. Oh, and they also have the white datura thorn apple. So there's the white, I don't know if you can see the flowers with the reflection, but Crepe Myrtle with white flowers, and then a whole other strip of awesome out here. Alright, this has been Damon, the Global Gardener, enjoying our time together, and I will see you in any of the series that I'm making on the Staten Island Botanic Gardens here at Snug Harbor, or all the other hundreds of videos of botanic gardens from around the world.